discuss this with Faiza Shaheen from the Centre for Labour and Social Just Studies. Also joining us from Westminster is Jonathan Isaby, the editor of Brexit Central. Thank you to you both for joining us this morning. Faiza, if I could firstly start with you, what happens now? Because when this deal does go to the House of Commons for that meaningful vote, on the face of it, it looks like the maths simply isn't there for Theresa May.
Yeah, what the withdrawal agreement needed to be is like a bridge, a strong and sturdy bridge to a place that we could see for post-Brexit Britain. Instead, what we've got is a bridge built very quickly, it's very creaky, it's crooked, and now Theresa May is asking MPs to follow her over that bridge. Why would they do that? And, you know, the only reason they would follow someone over that bridge, such a badly built bridge that gives us a road to nowhere, is if they trusted her. Now, why would they trust her? Her own party doesn't trust her on this.
Jonathan, 90 Conservative MPs have said that they'll vote this deal down. Labour has said no, the DUP has said no, the SNP, the Lib Dems. It's not going to happen at the moment.
You're right. Certainly on the current arithmetic, I cannot see any way in which that deal would get passed. And I think, in a sense, I agree with Faiza that what is on offer here is surrendering £39 billion in return for the divorce deal, but without any sense of knowing where we're actually going to in terms of the future relationship. There's this 26-page document, the so-called political declaration that came out at the end of last week alongside the 585-page withdrawal agreement. But that's full of airy-fairy notions and aspirations of what might happen in the future rather than any solid guarantees. And of course, the withdrawal agreement is the bit that would be legally binding, which crucially includes the Northern Irish backstop, which, if put into effect, and by the way, we wouldn't have a veto on it coming into effect, would shackle us potentially forever into the customs union and all that goes with that. So there's clearly huge dissatisfaction across the political spectrum over this deal, which is why I can't see it getting through the House of Commons.
Faiza, what is the alternative now? Because, you know, we heard from Jean-Claude Juncker over the weekend. We've heard from Leo Varadkar. We've heard from Mark Rutte. And all of them have said that this is the best possible deal. There's going to be no movement. There is no other option for the Prime Minister, and now it's back to the British Parliament to move on and to decide on this in the national interest. So what could the alternative be?
Well, look, the European Union has got form in renegotiating deals, and so obviously they would say that right now because they need Theresa May to push forward. But look, ultimately, if it doesn't go through in Parliament, there's no majority for no deal either, and that would also be bad for the EU. So there's got to be some way to put a stop clock on that Article 50 triggering and us leaving Brexit, leaving the EU. So I think we've got to be thinking, really planning right now about what that looks like. So does that look like calling a general election? Does that look like going back to the EU and negotiation? Does that look like calling a second referendum? Now, all of those things have to be on the table because we cannot go out without a deal. But at the same time, the deal we have on the table right now is like holding us to ransom for something that also does not give this country what it needs.
Jonathan, would pausing or extending Article 50 be an alternative, an option that you'd be willing to accept?
I don't think that's viable, and I don't think the British people would be happy about it. And on a technical point, the fact that there's European Parliament elections due for May, it would mean that we'd have to start participating in those, which I think is the last thing that the European Union would want. And I'm not sure that the result that it would bring would be one that would please the government. And certainly I disagree with a lot of Faiza said there. You know, she obviously wants a general election, partly because I think she's going to be a candidate at that coming general election whenever it happens. So she has a vested interest there, obviously. But I think she's also wrong to say, you know, Parliament would never vote for no deal. The fact is that no deal is the default option. Stuart Jackson, the former Chief of Staff to David Davis, wrote about this for Brexit Central just this morning on our website, explaining that through virtue of the fact that Article 50 was triggered with the 2-year countdown and the European Union Withdrawal Act put the date of our departure in black and white on the face of that Act of Parliament, the default is we leave on 29th of March, and if we get a deal, frankly, that's a bonus.
Faiza?
Look, I think I'd be interested in what you think we do then, because ultimately there isn't the numbers, like you say, to vote through this bad deal. And then the alternative, a no deal, which obviously some Brexiteers would like, would actually be catastrophic in terms of the economics for this country. And so what do we do then? So I think we then have to go back and ask for a pause. And we have heard in the past from the EU, from Juncker and others, that if there is a change in the political situation here, then they would move, or they would pause that. There would be some wriggle room. And I think, look, you can talk about me wanting a general election. The country needs a general election because Brexit isn't just about our relationship with the EU. Why Brexit happened, the regional inequalities, the austerity, the broader package of policy change we need to get this country back on track. The only thing that would bring us that is a general election.
But Faiza, do you think there is time to go back to the table and discuss or even have a general election? Only 123 days before we crash out. Time's against us.
I'm concerned. Yeah, look, I'm concerned too about the time. Of course, you know, what's happened is we've gone round and round in circles for a long time. And it almost seems like purposely they're putting this deal on the table very late in the day. And they're holding us to ransom. Now, we can push back on that because this deal, this withdrawal agreement, blindfolding us. We don't know where we're going after this. And this is just the start, let's remember, because then we have to negotiate the future agreement, the future relationship. So, you know, I think this is a really important time to be brave and have courage and say that this is not good enough. And I think that the EU will need to listen to us at that point when we don't vote this through Parliament.
Jonathan, final thought from you?
Well, I agree that we absolutely should encourage our MPs to vote down this deal. But as I say, the alternative is simply to leave, and then we would trade with the European Union on World Trade Organization terms after 29th of March next year, which is how we trade with the rest of the world. Now, there's a lot of scaremongering being put about by people about the prospect of leaving the European Union, but we've heard this all before. Before the referendum in 2016, we were told that the result of a vote to leave, not actually leaving down the line, but the result of a vote to leave would be an immediate recession and a massive hike in unemployment, and neither of those things have happened. Exactly the opposite has happened. The economy has continued to grow and employment is at a record high. The British economy and the British people are extremely resilient, and I think we need to have confidence in them.
Okay, we have to leave it there. Faiza, Jonathan, thank you to you both. The debate continues. Thank you.